You chew your nails. And you tap your fingers on the desk. Oh, and you. How many times does that pin have to break in your mouth to get you to stop chewing on it? We, all, have habits. Like, I, have this, habit of saying, all the time. I once heard that a habit was hard to break, and that it actually takes up to 30 days to break a habit. But what about those habits that we start when we're a kid? Like picking our nose. Or socially isolating ourselves from a group. Social isolation is a terrible disorder that affects a huge number of people. But what do we really know about it? How does this affect our brain? What happens when an isolated child becomes an isolated adult? And most importantly, what can you do about it? These were the basic questions that I had about social isolation. And with your attention today, I'll be sharing the answers with you. To start off right, the definition, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, defines isolation as involving in activities of, in this part, Ricky. Let's start off right. The definition, according to Merriam-Webster's dictionary, of isolating oneself means the state of being in a place or situation that is separate from others. In conjunction, social is defined as involving in activities in which people spend time talking to each other. Therefore, social isolation means to literally separate yourself from conversation. Picture a little boy going off to preschool. His mom picks him up in a great big hug and then sends him on his way. Which way does he go? Off to the right to go play with his friends, or off to the left to go play in a corner by himself? If this child continuously chooses to go left, this child shows symptoms of social isolation. In her article at the Live Science website, Stephanie Pappas states that social isolation early on in childhood affects a certain brain cell called oligodendrocytes. To further define, oligodendrocytes are a brain cell that helps the brain understand what's going on in the environment around you. When affected, this brain cell becomes less able to mature at a steady rate. The inability of this brain cell to mature will likely cause a child to rely more upon themselves than other children, as well as they won't be as conscious of their surroundings. With social interaction, you can simply make this brain cell mature. But if this interaction does not happen for a child under a certain age, this brain cell might not ever mature, and the damage could be more severe. Now, another type of brain cell that is affected, besides oligodendrocytes, is your white matter, or your memory. Now, your white matter can be explained through a demonstration. Picture yourself at your earliest memory. Who is there? What were you doing? Growing up, we realized that some of the greatest memories made were those made with other people. Your best friend, your siblings, your dog even. But children who socially isolate themselves won't have these memories. Because when something like your memory or your white matter isn't being used, it starts to weaken. This is called your white matter effect. We need to exercise our white matter in order for it to work properly and to strengthen itself. Picture your memory as like a toy on a shelf. This toy was made to be played with. But what happens when it just sits there on a shelf? It gets old and corroded. Soon the dust mites have gotten a hold of it and it starts to fall apart. When this happens, it is rendered as broken. It's fixable, but not easily done. Now there's this mental well-being found when we isolate ourselves for a time. I mean, we all need to escape the crowd every once in a while. And when in a relationship, we all hear the classical, "I need some me time." But what's not natural, and we need to be careful of this, is when we see these symptoms from people. Constant removal from a group. Their eyes avoid eye contact, and they stop talking to just about everybody. Ideally, social isolation can be cured through interaction. And social isolation can be cured through interaction with other children, as well as children will eventually grow out of social isolation, though in the long run they suffer from the effects of social awkwardness, memory loss, and even depression later on in life. Take into consideration the symptoms of social isolation in children and adults. Avoiding playing with groups and their friends. Avoiding eye contact and conversation. Okay, now the cure for social isolation is simple. It's as simple as patting your head and rubbing your stomach. The cure for social isolation is make the child or adult laugh. Make them feel comfortable on their terms and talk to them on their terms. And involving them in conversation, this will help considerably. Now, being in high school, I have been given a special chance to actually walk around the high school. And when I do, I notice when people don't have a lot of friends. One thing that I really notice about these people is that they don't socialize like a lot of people do, like a lot of people who knows everybody do. I personally know this because I don't socialize with a lot of people. You would often find me following my sisters around, laughing at all their jokes, but never really joining in on the conversation until freshman year when I joined an activity. This activity was speech and debate. Speech and debate has helped me to learn how to interact with my peers and actually learn how to say hi to a stranger in a hallway. Now, think about it this way. You could be somebody's own personal speech and debate. You can be that person who leads somebody who is barricaded within themselves out of social isolation. You see, social isolation isn't a cancer, it's not the flu, and it's not contagious. But it needs a cure nonetheless. And this cure, it just might be you. Let me leave you with one last question. Will you be the person that stands in the way, or will you be the person with the open gate that leads a person out of social isolation? Because like I said, it's not the flu, it's not cancer, and it's not contagious, but it still needs a cure. And this cure just might be you. Think about it.